Abs are often thought of as a mirror muscle, but they play an important role in sports performance as well. You wouldn't believe how many high school athletes I test that have a weak core despite constantly doing extra ab work. The problem is most people train for the burn rather than to strengthen the abs within the system. I'm going to explain exactly why you should be training your abs for peak performance, and then I'll show you the best exercises to do it. If you don't know who I am, my name is Zach Vaughn, and I help athletes take their game to the next level by training to be faster, stronger, and more resilient. Your core is made up of 4 primary muscles: rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis, and both internal and external oblique. Each plays their own role within movement, but today I'm going to focus on rectus abdominis, which is what you think of when you think of abs or a six-pack. Developing strong abs is crucial for their role in stability, power, and injury prevention. Abdominal stability comes into play anytime we want to move the body as a whole, especially in change in direction and high-velocity movements. You've probably heard the term core stability, which refers to resisting movement at the trunk and allows us to keep the upper and lower body connected. A lack of stability will cause you to lose control over your center of mass and can slow you down or cause you to lose balance. A strong core allows you to better translate the forces coming from the big muscles in the lower body up the chain into the upper half, where you can throw, punch, or swing. The abs also play a key role in injury prevention by protecting the spine and supporting the body throughout movement. By controlling spinal flexion and extension, it's your abs' job to make sure your lower back doesn't get pulled too far in one direction. Essentially, your abs and the rest of your core serve to provide dynamic support in areas of the body where we lack a more rigid structure. The best way to get the most out of your ab training is through a combination of exercises that stress both the action and the function within the system. The action of the abs is lumbar flexion, which is what most people do to target their abs with hundreds of crunches. To train the function of the abs, you want to use them to resist movement in the ribcage and pelvis through different ranges and speeds. Including both in your core training is the best way to build the actual muscle, increase its strength, and use your abs within your sport to increase performance. The Deadbug is the very first exercise I teach all of my clients to train the function of the abs. The key with any Deadbug variation is to keep your lower back pressed against the ground. This means that your abs are pulling your ribcage and your pelvis down, stacking them together, and resisting the tendency to extend, which is exactly how we want them to behave in sport. The downfall to Deadbugs is the inability to load them with anything substantial. This is where HAF Compound Movements come into play. HAF stands for heavy as f***. Any compound movement that's front-loaded will challenge the function of your abs because the weight will attempt to drive your ribcage down and fold you over. Exercises like heavy RDLs, front squats, or sandbag carries will truly test how much force your abs can withstand. When you're looking to produce movement with your abs, it's best to attack them from both the top and bottom. To challenge them from the bottom up, leg raise variations are the most effective because they provide a scalable resistance pulling your pelvis forward for your abs to work against. Pick a variation where you can feel your abs working the most and focus on pulling your pelvis up towards your ribcage. The biggest mistake I see here is people using too much hip flexor, choosing too difficult of a variation, and just focusing on raising their legs up with no control over their pelvis. Then, to attack the abs from top down, weighted crunches are going to be your best friend. Just like any other muscle, your abs respond best to progressive overload, and weighted crunches are the best way to do that. The key here is to make sure the lower body is locked into place and then try to drive your ribcage down as close to your pelvis as possible. I usually tell my athletes, squeeze the belly button or drive your elbows down to your knees. To put everything together and really challenge your core, you can use the Bodysaw. The Bodysaw requires your abs to stabilize the lumbar spine while still controlling motion through the upper and lower body. Make sure you start with a good plank posture. Don't let your hips sag too low or sky up into the air. I highly recommend people start with sets of 10 to 20 reps on a medicine ball. Then you can work your way up to an ab wheel or foot sliders for the more advanced version. Add in these exercises 2 or 3 times a week and your abs will not only look good, but help you play better on the field. And if you're serious about making the most amount of progress possible, check out this video on what to do when your results slow down and you start to hit a plateau.